this viewpoint. Wait for some people to log on. Let's see. Of course, if you're watching this after the fact, I'm talking to myself because no one's got on here yet. Still 0 people. Oh. There we go. A couple people. Let's see. Sometimes it'll say that there's like 2 people watching, but technically there's like 7. Because I'll get a thing showing 2 people, and then like 6 or 7 people will say something. So we got 4 people. I figured I'd go live. You know, it's Sunday. I'm out here working anyways, and trying to organize and do some cleaning and some, you know, getting things shifted. Plus, I've got some forging that I have to do later today, and I've got to do some more wrapping up on the D-Guard bolo knife. So I just got a little bit of drilling and then cleaning it up, and then doing the little copper medallions that go on the front and back of the guard. I'll have those done. I'll work on them today, finish them tomorrow, finish editing the video, get that out on Tuesday. But I wanted to show y'all the difference between the old shop and the new shop, and kind of how crazy the old shop looks, because I have been pulling things out of it, dismantling it, all that stuff, and I figured this would be a good time to do that. Plus, I'm going to show y'all a billet that we have that I got from a friend off of Instagram, and then compare a couple of things. So I'm going to take y'all over here. I know people will join and log off and join and log off as we're actually going through this. I'm going to take y'all off the tripod for a second. All right, let's go out here and look. So of course, this is the 12x12 that we started off with. And it might be better if I get the tripod and just bring it in here, so that we're not having this whole shaky camera thing. So we'll grab the tripod. Alright, so y'all haven't seen this shop in a while. It's been a good minute since y'all have seen this. And it is pretty much, I wouldn't say stripped down, but it's pretty bare compared to how it used to be. Let me get this tripod to work with me here. There we go. Now, not as much shaky camera. So, I've taken a lot of stuff out of here. Of course, as you go through here and you look at all of this, this wall, we used to have shelves all on it, plus all my spray paint, all that stuff. Now, I took the shelves out of here. They looked like this right here. There's a bunch of stuff on them. That's a whole bunch of pew cleaning stuff and extra parts, some uppers and lowers right there, and all that. But yeah, some sights and everything. So this is the way it looks now. So if y'all remember, there was stuff all on this wall, that wall. My little 1x30s were over here. Heck, look at the counter here. That big rectangle that's right here, that's where the 2x72 was. And then of course we had the porta band saw here, drill press over there. I mean, it was something else. Whenever I first started going through here and actually trying to organize this thing, it was all I had. So I had the 12x12, here, and then I had the 11 by 11 where we actually did the forging and stuff like that. And I made it work, but the downside to having a shop that's this size, that's a 12 by 12, if you're starting off, it's absolutely awesome because whenever you're working in here, you can easily just go, and this was how I set up like the flow of it. You could easily go drill press, you know, you have your vise right here, drill press, 1 by 30, porta band saw, 2 by 72, and then my oscillating spindle sander. If you don't have a small wheel attachment, this thing's absolutely amazing. I don't have it plugged in right now, but this, if you don't have one of these, or if you don't have a small wheel attachment, get yourself a little spindle sander. I like this because it goes up and down and spins. So get yourself one of those and it'll make your life a lot easier. But I've gone through and I've just started disassembling everything in here. I still have some of the stuff on this side, you know, the little tempering oven, my little toolbox that has small little hand tools, plus a lot of all my leatherworking. I say all of it, a bunch of my leatherworking stuff's in the bottom there. And then it's just stuff that's all organized. Now, one of the things you hardly ever saw were all the shelves that were on the wall with the windows. I pulled all that stuff off. I'm reusing all of these shelves. So these little white shelves right here. Plus I'll be using these longer ones that you see down here on both sides. I'll be reusing those as well whenever I finish putting the shelves up in the other shop. Now, one of the things that you'll see whenever you go through your old shop is how much stuff you have that you don't really use versus how much stuff you have that you do use. So for me, I'm going through here and I'm organizing things and I'm realizing what stuff is just caked in dust because I haven't really used it in a very long time. So a lot of that stuff hasn't transitioned over to the other shop. Now, part of that is because I've got like woodworking tools that don't really work within knife making. I've got a lot of little specific tools, like tools to drill holes for dowel rods that are dowel rod specific sizes and stuff like that. Like all these bits and all these random things that are over here for doing cabinetry and doing different type of projects like that. A lot of that is stuff that I don't use in the knife making all the time, so it didn't transition over to the knife shop. I do have a few things down here that are going to eventually transition over, like down at the very bottom I've got my this is what I use to do my maker's mark. This little box right here, little ammo can. It's got all the wiring and everything tucked inside of it. Basically, it was a battery charger that I took and stripped everything out of to make it to where it was this thin and it stacked real easily with other stuff. But like that, a couple little chop saws, some extra files and extra stuff like that. I've got a ton of my leatherworking stuff down here. That's how big the container is that actually houses all of my leatherworking stuff and extra leather and everything like that. I've got a few projects in here that haven't transitioned over to the other shop yet because they're just stuff I was working off, you know, not on camera. It's a little Damascus EDC that I'm making, again, for myself out of a piece of scrap Damascus. So I haven't decided if I was going to film this. There's a few projects that I do for me that are just off camera and I don't really show everybody, partially because I really just want to be able to work on it and it be a project that is super chill and I don't have to worry about camera angles and lighting and all that stuff. But I got a couple of these like cut off pieces from I think this was Alabama Damascus. I got a few of these little cut off pieces for free from them, and so I'm just making a few different little knives out of that, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn them into something for me. Now, one of the goals for this shop, whenever I get done stripping it all down and everything like that, I'm actually going to take all of the paneling, the sheetrock, all the stuff, the workbench, everything out of it, and then I'm going to go ahead and insulate all of this, sheetrock everything, and then I'm going to use this as kind of like a podcast slash intro outro talking about things. I'm going to have my editing stuff in here. I'm going to have all my cameras, all that stuff. So it'll be nice to be able to come out here, film, have it heated and cooled, all of those things. But whenever I first set this up, you know, you go through and you just start putting things up where you think they're going to need to be, and I think it's pretty cool. Whenever I first set out to do this, if you watch the video that I released about the whole, or re-release, or the little update thing that I did, however I did it, showing y'all whenever I first set this shop up for the first knife that I made, all it was, on a Sunday too, yes. Whenever I first made that knife, and give me 1 second, I'm actually going to go and I'm going to go grab it real quick so I can actually talk about it. 1 second, it's just in the other shop. All right, so this guy right here, this is the first knife that I ever made in this shop. That was like was something that wasn't a knife that turned into a knife. I had re-profiled existing knives and stuff like that, but this was the first knife that I ever actually made right here. Out of a Nicholson file, my little maker's mark on there. So whenever I did this maker's mark, this was actually about probably about 5 months after I actually made the knife that I actually put the mark on there, because I didn't have anything to do that. And that maker's mark, along with my original knives that I put out, like the first like 25, 30, I actually used fingernail polish on the blade, and I drew my maker's mark on there. So every single one of those first like 25, 30 blades, they have an actual unique maker's mark on every single one of them, because they were all hand drawn and then etched with, of course, my little car charger etcher. So all of those have very unique maker's marks on them. Now, with this right here, this was like one of those knives that I thought to myself, okay, I'm just going to get all the scrap crap together, and I got myself a Nicholson file. That was one of the ones that I had already. And then this piece of wood right here, so the scales that you see on here, they were off of a scrap pieces of wood that I got from a dismantling a Nordic track. So whenever I originally moved to this house, there was like half of a Nordic track just in this shop, plus like a computer desk and some furniture and crap like that. So I took all that out of here, and I needed some nice hard wood. And what did I have? Well, I had a Nordic track pieces. So I went and I cut those down, and that's the scales. And then the little copper pins that are in here, those are from Lowe's. And then just a little lanyard from a spool of paracord that I have. It's up here. I got this from my father-in-law. Big spool of paracord. If you're a paracord nut, you're probably going, damn! So I've got that. That's actually military paracord. So, and I went ahead, made the knife, little, sheep's foot, simple design, simple bevels. And I did this on a 1x30. And this was one of those ones where first knife, I didn't have to heat treat it or anything like that, because it's a Nicholson file. So all I had to do was technically just temper it back. What's up, Craig? All I had to do was just temper it back. I didn't have to do anything like a heat treat process or any of that stuff. And whenever I finished this is what made me decide, oh, I can go ahead and make knives. I think I can do this. I in the process of making this, I decided, okay, I need to put stuff here. I need to reorganize here. I need to move this thing here and get everything situated, because I wanted to be a knife maker. And this knife right here was what made me decide that. Now, there's another guy that I've mentioned every once in a while. His name's Jeff Peters. Old Wolf Forge. If you want to go check out Old Wolf Forge on Facebook or whatever, he's an awesome dude. He's the guy that told me. I messaged him on Facebook and said, hey, you know, big reason why I messaged him was because I won one of his knives in a raffle. And when I was looking at it and I was going, oh, he made this out of a file. I wonder if I can do that. So I started picking his brain going, hey, you know, I want to make knives. I see that you're making knives out of a one-car garage. Is there anything that I need? And he was like, dude, just get a 1x30. Make your first knife out of a file so you don't have to heat treat it. All you got to do is temper it. You know, pick out a simple design. Don't do anything super crazy. And make your bevels straight. Gave me all the little advices on how to do my first one. And he is like, and if it turns out awesome, awesome. If it turns out bad, make another one. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to absolutely make my first knife. And I picked his brain as I went through. And it came out looking like this, which I consider that a success. I've owned this the whole entire time. I like that it has the exposed file for the lanyard hole there. I've done this on a couple of different knives. But it's still comfortable. It's still razor sharp. And I had a little sheath made for it before I actually made sheaths. So it's a little scout carry sheath. And I have had this the entire time. So I made this, I guess it was just over 4 years ago. And you see what we're doing now. I mean, we've made swords. We've made double-bladed daggers. We've done all kinds of different stuff. We've done Damascus, we've done cable Damascus, we've done kumai, gomai, we've done all that different stuff, and now we have both shops. I think it's pretty good, like, evolution of the actual process. Now, whenever I first started doing this, I didn't know that it was going to get this extreme. So I made this knife, and then I made a couple other knives, tinkering around and all that, and then I made that heirloom knife with one of my friend's files. And that knife, of course, when I first released it, it was like, okay, it did okay. And then for some reason, I guess it was a game that came out, Apex Legends or something like that. There was a knife in the game called an heirloom knife. And I got some people watching the video because of this random video game. And that video just took off. And it was one of those things that made me really decide to go ahead and do this. So the fact that I've made this many videos and that I've talked to this many people and I've had this many people come on to the, you know, to do different things with the channel and all that stuff, it's all because of that one video. And it took a year. You know, there's a lot of people that want to get into YouTube and decide to do something like this, but it took a year worth of months where I would only get like 45 views, 45 views, 45 views. You know, it took a year of almost nothing. I think I got like 190 subscribers in the first year of doing YouTube. And then as soon as that video went viral, everything picked up. I got monetized. It started going good. Got to talk to other people. Got to do collaborations. And now we are here. Is my channel huge? No, it's not huge. It's not the most massive channel in the world, but we started in this 12 by 12 shop that existed at this house. And I was making skateboards and longboards and stuff like that when I first started. You know, a lot of y'all don't even see all the stuff. If you watched that video, you would have saw a few of the boards that I made, but that was my own designs and everything like that. I like longboarding, skateboarding. I like riding bikes. That's what's up above here. That's my Bianchi that I built myself. What's up, Klaus? Let's see here. He said he's very kind words. Yep. Yeah, Jeff is absolutely awesome. What's up, Matt? So whenever it came down to like deciding to shift my channel, because whenever I originally started the channel, I was just going to do all the stuff that I wanted to do. I was going to be making my boards, maybe doing a knife restoration or knife things here and there, and then coming through and kind of just showing y'all the process and evolution of myself within the different hobbies that I do. I do a lot of hobbies. There's one thing that you have to know about me. I'm kind of like a hobby collector, okay? So I love doing all kinds of different things, and I still do a lot of those things off camera. I've got, if you go over here, RC stuff, bike stuff, woodworking stuff, pew pew stuff, more pew pew stuff, lots of pew pew bullets, ammo stuff, and then I've got cleaning stuff up here for the pew pews, and then I've got car stuff, I've got antique stuff, I've got paintball stuff, and then I've got other stuff that's not up here anymore, but it was like crossbow, slingshot, all that stuff. I love doing all kinds of different things. That's kind of like my hobby, is doing all of the different just stuff. And I was going to film a lot of that, but what ended up happening was y'all really came on board with the knife making, and I thought to myself, okay, that's where it's at. That's what everybody wants to see. So I am going to show that stuff off. Now, that doesn't mean that I haven't been able to show y'all some of the other stuff, like all my car stuff. I have a couple of videos on the Porsche and different things like that. But for me, I like doing the knife making because it's the more educational part of my channel, and that's what I want to continue to do, is the whole just bringing y'all along and doing this educational stuff and having fun and actually teaching y'all stuff as I learn it. And yeah, you gotta say pew pew because YouTube is weird about saying different words. So whenever it comes down to it, again, I decided that I wanted to go ahead and do the more educational knife making thing because y'all really liked it. Y'all jumped on board with it. And I really like teaching. That was one of the things that I was going to college for, was to be a teacher and do, I was going to teach art. I'm huge into art. I love art. It's my passion. That's what makes this so fun, because this is a different art form. And I get to do all my sketches, and I still get to draw, and I still get to do all of that stuff. But being able to have art like this that I get to use. What's up, Jesse? So whenever I was like, okay, cool, everybody was down. They want to go ahead and watch me make these knives, cool. And whenever I first started out doing it, I was like doing the whole music, and you know, everything was like edited to where it had music and almost no tool sounds, or it had a little bit of tool sounds, and it was more cinematic than the actual teaching part. And as I got more into it, started setting the shop up, started upgrading my tools, went from the 1x30 to that 2x48 that I made using an angle grinder that had a variable speed. If y'all remember that, it's actually in the intro to my videos, that particular angle grinder. I went from 1x30 to that 2x48 that I made, and then to the 2x72 that I have now. And then I just evolved the shop to make things easier on myself and got better tools. And then, of course, we grew out of this 12x12, and we needed the other shop to be larger because I wanted to get into the forging aspect of knife making and show y'all the process within that. So, again, whenever I first started the channel within the knife making, I didn't know that I was going to be teaching, but I decided to take that role on because whenever I was trying to learn in this process and learn knife making, there weren't enough YouTubers out there that just taught how to make knives. And y'all have heard me talk about this a few times. We're gonna go back into the other shop because I'm gonna show y'all a cool billet that I got to be able to do a collaboration build. Plus my my fan's blowing in here, and it's actually a little bit cooler. So whenever I, there we go. I'll show y'all this here in just a minute. This is a billet that I got from SJ Forging off of Instagram. It's a Damascus billet. So whenever I first started making knives and going through the whole YouTube thing like all of us do, you only had a few channels that taught how to make knives, and they still had a lot of time lapse and a lot of things like that. And I decided I wasn't going to do that, that I was going to go more focused on breaking down the processes. Now, I get a lot of I say I get a lot of comments. I get a comment every other video that says, dude, I need you to talk less and work more. And that's fine and dandy. It would be awesome for me. Being able to do videos to where all I got to do is just do the work, not talk, not explain anything, would be absolutely awesome. I need to change the direction of this real quick. My fan was blowing my light and it was like flashing my head right here. So if I didn't have to worry about talking or editing that in or slowing down the process to be able to say what I'm doing, it would make filming a lot easier. I'd be able to make videos way faster, way easier, and it would just be simple for me. But whenever I don't do that, what ends up happening, let's say I don't talk or don't explain what I'm doing in the moment, what ends up happening is people have a lot of questions, and then I have to explain that stuff in the comment section, or someone will DM me and I've got to explain it in that. But I don't, it's way easier to make people understand what you're talking about whenever you can go, when you're hitting here, when you're using this hammer to do this, it's going to do this process. Whenever you're grinding here and you're moving your body like this, or you're doing this stuff with your hands, it's a lot easier to show people and say the stuff in the motion, because not everybody is just a visual learner. Some people need to, like, by visual I mean no auditory, no words or anything like that. Like, they can see you make a thing and they can go, oh, I can make that thing. Some people, a lot of people, need to be able to be told, so I'm doing this because of this. This is what it's going to do to the material whenever you're removing it. And I learned that way as well. Now, I can see people do stuff and go ahead and repeat that, but it would make it a lot easier if I knew why they were holding it a certain way, why they were using a certain tool, why they were using certain grits, why they were doing certain things. And it makes my life a lot easier when somebody breaks down that process to let me actually see it. So I decided that I was going to step outside of the YouTube norm and do my processes. Break the stuff down. Do it that way. And we're at right now. I mean, this is, we're at this place, at this point in the channel right now because of that. Do I have 100,000, 200,000, 1 million subscribers? No. But the subscribers that do watch the channel hopefully learn something from the actual channel. And plus, you know, I've only been making knives for just over 4 years, and I've made hundreds of knives, hundreds and hundreds of them. But have I been doing this for 40 years? No. Have I been doing it for 30? No. 10 years? No. Will I be doing it for a long time? Yes, I will. And I'm just trying to bring y'all along and show y'all what I've learned in the process, like going from the 12 by 12 with everything set up how it was set up, to having things like, again, the stuff that I've showed y'all in other videos, things like this, where we have all of that same stuff that was on that big old workbench area, big U, is all on a rolling rack. Being able to learn what to change and modify. By the way, there's all those shelves that I was talking about that I took off the walls in the other shop. So being able to learn and make good decisions within knife making and how I'm going to go ahead and set everything up and all that, this has just been that process. And trying to go with the flow and teach y'all as I learn has been a huge thing for me. Now, I have an idea of videos that I'm going to put out where I'm basically taking my long form videos where I'm doing all the education. I'm going to take all the talking out of it, take all the intros and outros, and I'm just going to make like making that knife in like 10-15 minutes, and those will probably be more of my viral videos. But I'm still going to do all of the weekly stuff where I break down the processes and do all of that. just like we're going to be doing with the D-Guard Bolo that releases on Tuesday. We'll have that in there. So one of the things that I wanted to do, I wanted to take my little original knife and open this up and see what it looks like. Like I said, this was sent to me by SJ Forging on Instagram. If I want to go check out his stuff, I'm going to try and link it in the description for this video, or this whenever it becomes a video instead of just a live stream. Alright. Let's see how he's got this thing packaged here. There you go. SJ Forging. That right there. But you'll actually see it a little bit better. So that's the guy that sent me this. Let's see here. Billet is a 126 layer staggered pattern Damascus. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. Steve Jennings. Tell you one thing, he definitely packaged this up real well. So this is the chunk right here. This is what I'm going to be making down into, I think I'm going to do an integral bolster chef's knife with it. So it's a pretty big bar. I should be able to forge quite a bit of a knife out of this. But I'm going to do something like one of my more Galluto style chef's knives. But I'm going to do integral bolster, and I'm going to do hidden tang with most likely this as the handle. And I'm going to do, basically you just split this a little bit, so make it about half the size that it is right now. And then I'm going to leave the live edge on the back side of it, so on the heel. I'm going to polish all that up and everything like that. There you go, Steve. So that's going to be the handle material right there with an integral chef's knife out of this awesome thing right here. By the way, guys, that Steve Jennings right there, he's the one that sent me this. So that is going to be an awesome project. It's going to be a fun project. I think that it's going to be really, really cool. And I've wanted to do an integral chef's knife for a little while. And he gave me the opportunity to do it out of Damascus. So we're going to see how that goes. And I love doing collaborations like that. It's absolutely awesome. Make sure, I'm going to be showing y'all as we do the video series on that particular build and all that stuff. But make sure y'all go give him some love. Follow him on Instagram. And I'll be shouting him out more whenever we actually do the video too. But it's pretty cool to be able to have that. And one of the things that I've grown to have with the channel and everything like that is all these opportunities to work with other creators. We've been doing the YouTube Knife Makers Challenge for a while now, and I've been lucky enough to be in the top group for the whole entire time because I tend to make stuff that's way different than what everybody else is making. So if we do a particular challenge, I'm like, okay, I'll make this fit within this challenge, but I'm going to be on the outside of the process. And I love doing stuff like that because, you know, the same thing with the Samurai Challenge. I know that there's a lot of people that are going to make katanas. That is going to happen. You're going to see a lot of katanas. You're probably going to see a couple of different like polearm type things, but you're going to see a lot of katanas. And I'm not making a katana. I'm making something that is going to be really cool to see used. It's going to be fun to use, and it's going to be unique. So yep, be on the lookout for that. I know it's going to be fun. And again, being able to do this, I did not know whenever I made that first knife that I was going to be at this point. And do I have the craziest, fanciest shop? Do I have power hammers and presses? I don't have power hammers. I don't have presses. When we forge stuff, that's all hammer and anvil. I don't have 46 Hardy tools on the walls. I don't have 85 pairs of tongs. I don't have any of that stuff. Well, I can't say any of that. I've got like 12 tongs, which is probably more than a lot of people. But and I probably got like 15 hammers. Beside the point, I don't have a bunch of Hardy tools. I've got like a cutoff tool, and that's about it. Everything else is just using hammer and anvil. Now, as I do the forging stuff, I will end up making more Hardy tools, but my goal is right now to learn how to use the different parts of the anvil before I go make a tool to make my life easier. I've got to be able to get used to all the different parts of the anvil, what they do to steel whenever I forge on it, different edges, different points, the horns, the step downs, all of that stuff. There's a whole bunch of tools built into this anvil by itself. The step downs, the horn, all the little edges and corners, everything like that. There's different parts of the anvils that make your life easy, and I need to know how to use those whenever I'm doing the forging process, which is why doing the integrals out of the round bar, stuff like that, it forces you to learn what you're going to do. Whenever you're hitting the hammer on the steel and moving it, how do you shift things particular ways? Because whenever you're thinking about it, a lot of people go, I'm going to hit on steel. Here, let me grab this. So a lot of people don't realize is whenever they hit the steel here, that the anvil hits the steel here. So whatever you do to this, there's an opposite reaction on the other side. So while you are doing something to this, the anvil is doing something to this. And you need to be able to get used to what parts of the anvil move this section of the steel what ways. And whenever you put a hammer blow here, or a hammer blow here, or a hammer blow here, what's it going to do to this backside? So it's like solving a Rubik's Cube. Those people that solve them really fast, they know that whenever they move the front squares, what it's going to do to the back squares. So, same thing. You got to be able to know what's happening here whenever you're hitting it here. Because again, whenever you're sitting there watching people do forging, all you're really seeing is that top action right there. You're not really seeing what's happening here, or why you would flip it, or why whenever you go through and you forge an integral bolster, why you got to do so many blows from this side, flip it, do the blows from the other side, because your hammer is putting a slightly different curve than what the anvil is doing. The anvil might be putting a sharper curve, while your hammer is putting a nice sweeping curve. You got to be able to flip it over and start transitioning to the other side, and then flip it and flip it and flip it and flip it, especially if you want to try and center that steel inside that bolster area. All of those things come into play, and I'm happy that as I was going through and doing all these different processes, that I've been able to take the time and learn those things and teach y'all. And whenever we first started making knives, what did we focus on? The grinds, bevel grinds, doing stock removal, why you move certain things certain ways, what parts of the 2x72 do you use to make your life easier, what parts of the spindle sander, what were cool things to do with the drill press, and all of that stuff. We focused on a lot of that. We focused on a lot of handle sanding. We focused on a lot of finishes. We focused on a lot of acid etching and different etching processes and things like that, because within the tools that I had, those were the things that I was learning, and those were the things that I was trying to push myself to make, myself better in, and that's what I ended up teaching. It's the same thing with the evolution of the channel. I've taught so many things on those tools. I've taught hundreds of videos on those tools, and now I'm trying to also teach these tools. And then as we do the new 2x72 that I'm going to end up building from House Made, I'm going to show y'all the process of building a 2x72 and the things that I'm going to do to it that makes sense for me. And then whenever we build the Apollo Forge, I'm going to show you what things I'm going to do to it to make it make sense to me. I'm going to have the other forge still, so we'll still have this forge here, plus we'll have the Apollo forge. And I also plan on getting another anvil, and the whole point behind that is eventually I'm going to have people come here and I'm going to do hammer ends. I'm going to teach people how to make knives, and I'm going to show you all the process of that as well. You know, I've taught friends how to make knives. I've got a little video series where I had friends come in, I showed them how to make a knife, and by the end of it, they actually had a knife that they got to take. They have a podcast called Ill Advised, and they have that knife at their little podcast filming studio thing. So it's just pretty cool being able to go through the evolution process, and we've got a lot to do, a lot to grow. I am going to end up getting a press, so you will have, whenever I get a press, I'm going to show you all the cool little things that I learn as I'm doing the press, as we're doing different Damascus things, as we're doing different, you know, things that challenge me. We're going to have a lot that goes on, and whenever I get the other shop fully set up, I'm going to show you all some things on it, but we're just going to have the channel grow and evolve as it goes through. And I think it's pretty cool that going from that 12 by 12, this being an 11 by 11, and y'all see, you know, because I have the videos out there, y'all got to see the 11 by 11 get dismantled, and then the pad get poured, me build this, because I built it. Nobody came in and built any of this crap. That was all me. There's my wife there, Nisha. And yes, I will eventually outgrow this shop. So there will be a point to where this channel and my shop grows to a point to where I am teaching people how to do this in person, as much as I'm teaching people how to do this on the channel. And it'll eventually grow to a point to where there's power hammers, there's presses, there's all of that stuff, and eventually I'll need to move out of this shop and actually buy a bigger shop that is not on my property. I'll still have this shop for a lot of my stuff that I film and do editing and things like that, but eventually it will grow to something bigger to where I can actually do one-on-one teaching and have people come in, show them how to do things, do all that stuff. Again, I love to teach people how to do things. It is awesome. Anytime that I can show somebody a skill that they want to learn and then be able to do it and then they'll be successful at it is absolutely awesome. So I just enjoy that whole process, but we are going to get there. You know, again, I've only been doing this for just over 4 years. You know, I have a lot of people that watch my videos that have been doing this for 20 years, and it's just having a blast doing this thing and trying to teach while I'm learning. And hopefully y'all get some takeaways from it. We'll see how that goes. I know that a lot of y'all have, because y'all tell me about it all the time, and I think that's really cool, and I appreciate it. Anytime I see guys at the different blade shows and all that, I just think I'm so blessed to have impacted anybody's life. You know, I think it's absolutely awesome, and I appreciate everybody that watches the videos. Again, I know that these videos could be way simple if I just filmed them and didn't talk and did all of the editing and the music and all that crap. I know that I could do that and people would still watch the videos and do everything, but my goal here is to teach y'all how to do things. And you know, if I make a thing and I can show you how I made it and how my brain processed it, maybe it'll help you make a thing. You know, with the forge, that's one of them. Going through, trying to teach people how to make these things so you don't have to go spend $250 on Amazon or something like that to get yourself a 2-burner forge when you could have spent way less money, and you got that. Being able to figure out what tools you can use for what things, it's just awesome. Figure out how many ways you can use your anvil without having to go buy some hardy tools or without having to go and spend extra money. Just learn how to use this and the hammers until you're good. You know, my first 4 hammers were all modified Harbor Freight hammers. That's all you really got to do until you decide that you're going to make knives. This guy right here, that's a straight peen and a cross peen. That is a modified Harbor Freight hammer. Right there. So whenever you're going through, what's up, Mark? Another one of the podcast guys. So before I went through and bought a hammer that had these particular things on it, I went to Harbor Freight, I got a hammer, and I modified it to fit what I needed so that I knew exactly what I was looking for in the actual hammer. And then I went ahead and bought a hammer. Now, could I have just kept using this? Yes. My goal, though, is to be able to support other makers within this industry. So this is the one that I got after that. See? It's almost exactly the same. But this right here, Two Bastards. These people, absolutely awesome. Two Bastards Forge. Now, I offered to pay for this hammer. I ordered it as if I was going to pay for it. Now, they sent it to me, and I didn't have to pay for it, which is absolutely awesome. But that is one beautiful, beautiful hammer. Right there. And I love the hell out of this. But that right there, I started off with this. It's one of those things where, again, you just go through and make the stuff that you need right off the bat. You don't need some fancy thing, because before you go through and you buy like 3 hammers and they're $200 a piece, and you don't even know if you're going to like it or not. You just need to go get a couple of little sledgehammers from Harbor Freight, make yourself a little cross peen or a straight peen, and then round off the other side off of one of the other hammers and have one flat. You can look at videos. There's videos out there turning Harbor Freight hammers into regular hammers that you would use for forging. Get you a couple of those, put the time and effort into doing this with them, and then go ahead and start using them. Once you get proficient with them and you decide that you want something that's more professional, that has a better heat treat on it so that it doesn't deform whenever you're hitting things, then go ahead and order a professional blacksmith hammer. Don't go straight into it. You know, get something like this. My 1x30, I still use that freaking 1x30 to sharpen my blades. It's right behind this workbench. Y'all see me sharpen my blades with it all the time. Pro Sharpening Supply supplies all the belts and leather straps that I use for that. And they don't even, let me see right here. They don't even want me to, like, they're not a sponsor or anything like that. They just supply it because I've used it for so long. So I love that. My 2x72, I didn't jump straight into a 2x72. I had the 1x30. I built the 2x48. It's one of those things where there's no need to get into it right off the bat, and that's what I try and teach y'all on this channel. You don't need all of these crazy specific tools until you need to fill that need. Until you get to a point to where you're trying to produce more things, that's whenever you spend the money to make the production process faster. So you get a specific tool to make your production process faster. That's whenever you go and spend the money. If you're making enough money because you're producing them so fast and you need to be able to make it faster so you can make more money, then you go and buy a tool. But if you're not making any money off of it, pause. Get the lesser expensive thing, figure out if you need the bigger thing, and then go to it. Don't jump into this and go, okay, I need a 2x72, I need a huge drill press, I need a press, I need a power hammer, I need 2 anvils, 2 forges, because I saw it on that one video and that's what they were using. You don't need all that. You haven't even made your first knife. Just pause, get yourself some simple stuff to do knives through stock removal, get your stock removal down, and then hop into the whole forging, blacksmithing, and all that stuff. Because you're going to have to be good at stock removal. Even if you get really good at blacksmithing, you need to be good at the stock removal part, because that is the stuff, or the area where you clean everything up and make everything look pretty and make people want to buy your stuff. So if you ask even like Pinto, the Pinto Knife Works, he stock removal, then got into forging, and even his forged knives look like they were stock removal knives. You almost have to, he almost has to take pictures of the whole entire process so that he can prove that it was a forged knife, because it looks like so pristine and precise when it's all said and done, but it was still a knife that was forged before he actually turned it into the knife. He actually forged the profile, and he just cleaned everything up, made it look like it was done by a machine. It was awesome. Yep, that's awesome, Tony. So it's one of those things where, again, I try and show those processes because whenever I first started doing this, y'all saw the stuff that I had. I used a Harbor Freight anvil, Harbor Freight hammers, Harbor Freight drill press, porta band saw. I mean, heck, I'm sponsored by Harbor Freight, except for I give them all the money and they don't give me anything. So maybe I sponsor them. I don't know how that would go. But I use tons of Harbor Freight stuff, and it's okay. I also use tons of stuff from Lowe's, Home Depot, from professional knife makers, from blacksmiths, from people who make specific tools within knife making. I use them all across the board. But the whole point is, you know, there's going to be some people that are like, you can only buy Milwaukee. I'm not that guy. I'm going to buy the stuff that makes my life easy, that sticks to a budget, because this needs to make me money. Okay? It's one of those things where it's a hobby that I love to do, but if it's not making you any type of profit to be able to recoup some of this stuff, because this is an expensive hobby, then, man, I'm not going to say you're doing it wrong. I'm just going to say that you are sacrificing something and not getting much return on it. And are you going to be a millionaire making knives? Some of these guys that you see at Blade Show, probably. Because I see some of these knives that they're selling for like $25,000. Maybe those guys will be millionaires. I don't think I will be. But I'm going to have a blast teaching people how to do this. And, you know, hopefully y'all are going to come along for the ride and have fun and learn some things, and we're going to do good things. But I don't know. Do y'all have any questions for me or anything like that? Figured I'd go ahead and leave a couple of seconds here for that. I know that this was more of a showing y'all what the other shop looked like and versus this. And I do have, of course, you know, these things right here. Those came from the pegboard at the other shop. Same thing with the stuff that's over here. I've got a whole bunch more things that I need to organize on this side. There's the little crossbow and the slingshot. That's the crossbow pistol. And you know, it's evolving. It's turning into a cool space and a cool area for me to be able to do this and have fun. So I've absolutely enjoyed it, and having people come aboard and just participate in live streams like this and do all of that has been an absolute blessing and been really cool. But are you ever going to do a dust collection video? Yes. Yes, I will. There will be, all of that will end up happening. I've got a few things that I'm looking at right now to be able to actually set it up in an appropriate space for that. But yeah, I will have a dust collection video coming out whenever I actually install that in the shop. So, you know, originally my goal was to not technically need it. So whenever I get the doors put in on the side over here, so when I get the doors put in on that opening, and I have the awning off the front, what I'll most likely do is whenever I'm grinding and doing a lot of that stuff, I'll take the whole entire workbench that has all the dust stuff, so the things that create dust, and I will move it outside of the shop. Do all the grinding, do all the stuff out there, grinding, sanding, all that out underneath the awning. And then all I gotta do is grab the leaf blower and blow everything off, and then move it all right back in. And then I won't have to worry about going through and really messing with the dust collection system, because I'm not going to be in the shop creating a lot of that dust. But I'll still end up doing something because you still need it. It makes life a lot better when you're not breathing in a lot of bad crap. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really cool, Tony. I think that that's going to be a fun collaboration. I'm really excited about it, and I think that it's going to turn out real awesome. I've got to think through the process though, because typically whenever I do my my forged integrals, I forge in the bevels pretty close to finish and do all of that stuff. But because this is Damascus, I'm going to end up forging it almost like if I was doing a stock removal on it. So I'm going to forge in the integral bolster area. I'm going to forge in, of course, the tang and everything like that. But I'm going to leave the blade. I'm not going to forge the bevels into it. I'm just going to forge flats all the way forward, and then I'm going to grind in the bevels so that it actually shows a lot of the pattern. And I've got a way to do that to where everything still looks really smooth and sleek, but I might forge in the bevels just a hair, just to make my life a little bit easier. But I'm going to focus on forging the bevels in a little bit more so that it shows more of the pattern. Or not forging, but grinding in some of the bevels so it shows a lot of the pattern. I really want to show off the work that he did and, everything that he put into it. I think it's going to be really cool. The only thing I need is, I think I might have to send it to him so he can put his maker's mark on the other side of it. Once I get done, doing the initial part, I might have to do that so that it has both of our maker's marks on it. That would be pretty cool. Or I might just put his maker's mark on it. I just think that would be really cool because it shows the collaboration between us two on that build. And, I want to have something that shows that, that he was part of the actual build, that it wasn't just me, that it took both of us coming together to be able to create that overall build. And I think that would be really, really cool. What's up? Okay, I'm not going to be able to pronounce your name. I would absolutely mess that up. Boho Durjant? I would mess that up. But hi, bro. Anything else? Any other questions or anything like that? I know that some of these live streams are just me talking and going through all of this different stuff. But, I mean, other than the ones where I forge and do things like that, most of them are me hanging out with y'all, talking, and just chatting. That's one of the cool things about live streams. Yes, could I be making something? Yes. But what typically ends up happening whenever you see people do the live streams where they're making something, I've seen it on other people who do live streams, and the thing's not fully in focus, or they'll be doing this. So they'll have the camera. They'll have the camera like back here, and they're doing this. For like half the video. So you don't even get to see what they're doing up close. A lot of it is they talk here and there about what they're doing, but most of it they're off in the back corner of the screen doing a thing. And I will have a few videos where we are going to be forging some stuff. I've got a few videos in the process, or in the chain of videos, where I'm going to do not so much like a hammer in style, but kind of like that. I'm going to do forge to profiles, and I'm going to try and limit them to 1 hour, where we forge out a petty knife, or forge out a smaller chef's knife, or we forge out an integral bolster knife out of one of the round bars. And we do that within the hour. Just like I did on the kind of impromptu one that I forged, that whole blade with the handle and everything in like an hour. I'm going to do some videos as we move forward where I'm actually doing that, to where I'm talking to y'all and, bringing the steel out of the forge, forging the profile, and doing those things. I've got some EDCs that I'm going to show y'all in the forging process and all that stuff. So we will have some of those things. Plus, we're going to have a few other things where I'm showing y'all drilling things and stuff like that while we're talking. A lot of this is me getting used to the whole live streaming process, because this is a completely different filming process than what I've been used to. And I enjoy the whole talking back and forth thing, because typically you only get to do this if I meet you at a blade show. And hopefully y'all will get more confident in typing out questions and talking, just like as if we were at a blade show and y'all walked up to me and y'all wanted to ask me questions or talk to me about a thing or say something was cool or say something you would change on something. The best part about live streams is y'all get to talk and have a conversation with me, which you typically wouldn't have unless we were meeting in person. So think about that as we go forward in the live streams and how y'all interact with me. Just interact with me. Just talk with me. It's perfectly fine. This is an awesome way to have that cool interaction. New shop, new projects. I'm already looking forward to new videos. Thank you, man. Thank you. Do you Rockwell test to confirm the hardness of the knives? Yes. Well, I use the files and things like that. I don't have like I don't have one of the big machines to be able to do like the full-blown Rockwell test. If I find one that is used that I can get for a good price, I eventually will own one of those. One of the like bench top Rockwell testers that actually does the machine stuff where you actually move everything and calibrate it and it does the full test. I will end up having one of those. Dennis Tyrell has one. Now, I don't have Dennis Tyrell's budget, but he has one of those, and I have to pick his brain on whether he uses it very often, what he thinks the pros and cons to having it are, things like that. And if it makes sense, I will end up buying one of them. But for right now, I use the files, and that gives me a rough idea of what I need to do tempering wise and all of that. Makes your life a little bit easier. Because again, I've said this in several other videos, you need to make sure that you go roughly what your hardness is or HRC is before you go through and do the temper. Because you can go on Google and you can go to like Knife Steel Nerds and all that. You can go on there and look up your particular steel. Let's say you're working with 80 CRV2 or 8670. You can see what hardness you're at after the quench. And if you're trying to, let's say you were at 65 and you were trying to get it down to between 58 and 60, it'll tell you, okay, well, you need to do 300 degrees for an hour and 45 minutes or 2 hours or whatever. And that gives you down to that particular hardness. So having the files does help a lot to be able to understand really what temperature you need to try and fine tune your tempering process down to. But yeah, I use those files as much as possible. All right, unless anybody else has anything else, I'm gonna go inside and eat some lunch. Now, before that, well, I still have 17 of y'all here. On Thursday, I typically do the live streams on Thursday. I think this time, I'm either gonna do it on Friday. No, I'm not gonna do it on Friday because we have podcast that night. I might go ahead and do it simple and do these live streams on Sundays because I'm already out in the shop doing this. I originally started out doing them on Thursdays because we didn't have anything going on, and then my wife decided she was going to take on a dance teaching job. That thing only happens on Thursdays. So I think what I might do is switch these to Sundays about this time and make it a little bit easier because typically people are off on Sundays and you're not trying to feed your kids and do all that stuff. So I might do the live streams on Sundays and do that. We'll see how that goes. I might do a poll and see what days y'all actually want me to do live streams on and then figure that out and go from there to make my life a little bit easier to decide when we're going to do things. But yeah, that's the it for this one, or the end for this one. That's it for this one, however you want to say it. Guys, y'all stay safe out there. Catch y'all next time.